We end up on a C triad with a D in the bass, which is a, we call an 11 chord. It's one of the many names we might have for it.
Or a C over D or something.
Peculiar nomenclature that they use in music. And that's a chord that leads to...
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Chord Therapy. Boy, this day I've been slammed. This has been nonstop. How's everybody doing here? Looks like we got about 15 people in. Tonight, we're going to discuss a bunch of things. Movable chords, how they change, how you can play them. And we'll talk a little bit about the cage system. And then I had an interesting message from a guy talking about the 5 chord, the G11. He had a problem with it, and just, in my opinion, didn't understand the way the 5 worked. And he was like, or how the 5 compared to the 4 should sound going down, like from a plagal cadence to a 5/1, which it had me scratching my head. But we'll talk a little bit about the 5 chord, why the 5 chord is treated like the 5 chord, the purpose of the 5 chord, how basically a 2/5/1 is really a 5/1, and we'll go over stuff like that today. Just wanted to see who's out there. If you're in there, let's give a shout out. I see Robert is in there, and I see Bendeo is in there. And that's about it. So there's 2 people here and 14 voyeurs. So anyways, when I was a kid and started playing guitar, a lot of the stuff I did was all self-taught. It mostly was self-taught. I took lessons for like 9 months. I learned all the cowboy chords, and then I kind of varied away from them. I varied away from them a lot. I was working on Zeppelin songs and was trying to hear them the way I would hear them. So like the Rain song is a G5, and that's really how I got to that 5 chord like that. Was coming out of trying to figure out the Rain song and that major 7 without using the alternate tuning. Now, older, I know that it's a DGC, GCD tuning. That's right. There you go, Johnny. It's absolutely true. So, when somebody started talking to me about the cage system, they're like, well, you can look at a D chord and play from here. And I'm like, yeah. And you can, it was basically movable chords and how to play leads throughout knowing where the chords are. If you got an E or a C shape, the different shapes. And to me, I was like, well, shouldn't you already know that? Like, when I started, that's how I had to learn. If I was playing an E and I was here, obviously I have a C chord here, but I also have the D chord here. I have this chord. I have this chord. So I have E all over the place. I didn't have to sit there and call it a system or think of it as a system. I just played it that way. Now, today I had a student who I usually have on Wednesdays, and we were going over an issue that I have with a lot of players is they play linear. Everyone is so concerned with the scale, and then what mode is that? And the reason why they want to know what mode is because they want to take, like, if we have C, well, we have Okay, so but it's the same 7 notes. And so it doesn't matter. And you don't have to think of them as playing linear, because you could just sit there and go, well, if I'm playing in the key of C, an E minor 7 and an F are the same 7 notes of the scale. So I don't have to play them in a line. I can play them arpeggiated through chords. I could play a C major 7 and a D minor, or a C and how did I get that B in there? A D6. So you can play chords that can cover the scales. It doesn't have to be this linear type of oh, that's Phrygian mode. Really? Because we're starting on the 3. Like, what if the chord is and the scale is, does that mean I'm playing Phrygian mode because I started on the E? It's just a silly notion, and it's just a way to further complicate what you're trying to say. Instead of saying, I'm playing the key of C, I'm starting on E. Okay. But in this particular point, I'm playing a line. Like a line. That's a line. But could you imagine if every song was just, they're not. There's arpeggios and there's melodies that they jump the notes and jump all around. And so we should look at music like that and think of it as just 7 notes. And the other thing is, if there's 7 notes to a key or 7 notes to a scale, I mean, sometimes there's 8 notes, but that's getting into like the 6 diminished scale, the Barry Harris scale, or the bebop scale or the blues scale. But if there's 7 notes to a key, that means there's 5 notes that aren't in the key. And those 5 notes still can be used. So it's just understanding how to use them. So today I wanted to talk about, we were playing a song and we were playing for AM station, we were doing So True, Funny How It Seems, Always in Time. And it slides up, excuse me, it slides up to this E flat, which the E is muted. The high string my pinky now lays on. And we're playing basically a C chord. But because the open string here is a G, and I've taken out the E by putting the 5 on top, it's a movable chord. So I could play the C to an E flat. I could slide it up to an F, and it would be an F add 9. I could slide it up to a G. I could slide it up to an A, and it would be an A7. So if I have a C, an E flat, and a G, and let's just say for a moment I took my finger here that was on the bass note and moved it to the 6th string and mute the 5th string. So here I would have a C over G. Here would be an E flat over B flat. And this would be a G over D. And you all know that from songs like Starship Trooper. Up an octave, but can't play the octave without a cutaway. But these are all movable chords. Now, if I just kept it as a C, I could slide it up a whole step. This would be a D add 9 add 11. So we have a D, here's the D, the major 3rd, the 11, the 1 again, the D, and the E, which would be the 9. So it'd be like a D add 9, 11. If I put my pinky down like I was playing a C7 in this position, this would just be a D9. But it's nice to know that, here's an E flat if I put my pinky down. If I don't have my pinky down, would be a D add flat 9. If I make it a 7, it would be an E flat 7 flat 9. And a cool chord here is to lift your first finger up, and now we have an E flat 7 sharp 5 flat 9. So this is a really nice jazz chord. Now we can slide up again. And this would just be like an E add flat 9. I'm sorry, E add sharp 9. Because we have the major and minor. We slide up again. We have an F major 9. We have F, the 3rd, the 9, the 1, and the major 7. And that's a nice little voicing. If you're playing something and you wanted to go, you could go. Nice chord. You could also, because you have your extra pinky, you could put this on the bass and this here. Make it a little richer sounding by having the C in the bass. Thank you, Jan. Now we have the G here. This would be a G6 if I leave the high E string ringing. But I can put my pinky down and make it a G. I could also do the same thing with my pinky here and put a D in the bass. And then the same here for the A7. Still an A7 whether the pinky's up or down because it's the octave, and same there. It's always an A7 over E, or I can mute that E string. So you have all these chords just in that C position. That's just the C. We could look at D chords, right? We have a D. Well, if I slide this up a minor 3rd, now I have a D minor 7, right? Because I have D, I have the dominant 7, I have the minor 3rd, and I have the 5. So I have a D minor 7. Now I can come down one, and we could call this a D6-9 sharp 11. We have the D, the 6, the 9, the sharp 11. You could also call it an E over D. Really depends on how you're using it in the song and how you see it. We have an E flat over D, and the D. We have a G over D. We have an A over D, a B flat over D, a D11, and then a D. So the D is a little bit more movable, but still you can see that you can play these anywhere, you know. Technically that would be the same type of shape but here. So you have stuff like that. You also have it in A. Very simple. You have the B over A. Now we can call this many different things. Right, all these chords are movable. E. This would be like an F major 7 sharp 11 over E. This would be like an E. Now we have a G shape, right? But we're playing it with the E in the bass, so we have an E minor 7. So this is a voicing for an E minor 7 if you wanted to use it. You could slide this here up to the A, and now we have an A over E. Here we have a B over E. But it would actually be like a B at 11 over E. And the cool thing is with E is you can actually play chords up the scale. So you could play like E, and the 2 chord would be an F sharp minor, so you could play the skeleton of that, which would be like an F sharp minor 7 at 11 over E. We slide that up a whole step. We have an E major 7. Again, we have the A over E. Up again, we have a B at 11 over E. Up again, we have a C sharp minor over E, or E6. Then we'd be. So there's like really cool stuff to know in the chords. And do those chords help? I think they help a lot. in a lot of different ways. It also helps you understand what you're looking at when you see the fingerboard. A lot of times people look at the fingerboard like they look at it down. They see all 6 strings, and I find that to be sometimes overbearing. You're looking at too much, right? Because if we sit there and, like, when you look at the box scale, and most people start on the box scale, you know it as, right? And so you see the whole thing, you're looking at it as all 6 strings. But when you're taking things from chords, if I were to look at, let's just say, like the A, I can look at this part of the A here. I could add and go down a whole step down here. And then you could also play to that, knowing that's what you're playing, Because I'm seeing the chord in the song, or seeing that in the scale. If you're playing like E major 7, right? So we have 4 sharps. There are 3 naturals. Well, I can see all the different, if you're playing like let's say like a Larry Carlton-ish type of. So there's like that cool type of walk up with that. You could see everything, and seeing everything is really what it's all about, is to be able to see the fingerboard and know what it is. If you said to me like an E major, like we're in the key of E major. Well, I mean, and I sit here and play this chord. I mean, this is almost every note in the scale except for the A. Basically, this is the E scale without an A. Why is that? Well, because mostly major 7 chords, people don't like the 11 in there. The sharp 11 always sounds better. But for the most part, this is. What do we have? If I numbered the scale, right? We have the 1. We have the major 3rd. We have the 6, or the 13, whatever you want to call it. Here it's the 13. We have the 9. We have the 5, and we have the major 7. So in this one chord, there are 6 out of the 7 notes of the key of E. And we're just missing this one. That's all 7. So I try not to think of scales as in the order that we're playing. That's what we're taught to learn. Learn the scales, learn them I think you got to learn them in more ways of just up and down. You should learn them through the chords and play the chords through and figure those chords out, because that'll also open up what you're seeing when you play chords like this. Right now here, I'm playing an E major 7. Well, if I'm going to play a melody on top, I could be. Tune. So knowing the chords will open up the fingerboard for you. Hey, Jay. So, by the way, let me just say hello, Stephen Frazier. Hello, Michael JB. Hello, Strat Dad. Hello, Cheech. But knowing where the positions are, knowing where the notes are, is also knowing the chords, because you can't cycle through chords if you don't know the notes in the chord. If you don't know, for instance, that like a B major chord is B, D sharp, and F sharp, you need to learn that. I don't care what it takes. Go through the circle of fifths. There's a couple of videos of mine about the circle of fifths, but go through them. And then you have to know where they are, because if you're playing an E and you want to play, you want to be able to cycle through that B to A, that 5 to 4 with the E ring. You want to know where those notes are. You want to have an understanding. And like I was saying about understanding the whole fingerboard, you don't have to. You can look at 3 notes. So these are triads from the bottom here. So we're looking at the B, the A, the B, the A, the B, the A. So I'm looking at all the chords. And I'm looking at them only as 3 notes. And what's cool about that is, let's just say, forget about that key. Let's take a key where I can have an open D string, right? So if I was to play like a G to an A, we'll go a whole step down. So we're going to go. Can you get by playing songs only with their inversions? It depends on the inversion of what you like that sounds the best. A lot of times when I'm teaching songs is because I'm trying to show you the inversion that I think sounds most like the record or what's going on there. But my point about knowing this is just knowing where the A and the G is everywhere while you have that D ringing. You know, there's you should know where things are at. And also here I'm looking at it again, like these 3 would be the bass notes. So I could be like, so I have the bass doing one thing and I'm looking at it, hey now, and I'm looking at the bass, but that doesn't matter. The point is you want to look at it as if it's 2 different things. Now, when it comes to, like, if I'm playing shred guitar and I'm playing an electric guitar, then I'm looking at the strings. And usually, if I'm playing linear, I look at everything from a 2-string. I look at the guitar like this. I'm looking down the neck this way, not looking at it this way. I'm looking at it this way. So if I'm playing, like, let's say I was playing something... or I could play like, I'm looking at it as two strings are grouped together. So I'm seeing the A to the F, the G to the E, and the F to the D. That's how I'm seeing it. I don't see it all as one, or I don't think of it as one. I'm thinking of it as groups because I can move those groups around. I can play, if I'm playing, so, and if I'm playing over something like an A minor and I'm trying to play that fast, I can play and not have, and understand that I'm thinking of everything in 2-string groups. When I play chords, or when I think about chords, I'm either thinking in, I could think, like, if I'm playing a D, I'm thinking in 3 groups of 3. If I'm in the A position, I'll be thinking of 4 and 1. Or if I'm in 6, I'm thinking 5 and 1. And that's really how I see and I can see the fingerboard. Like, so if you say to me, like when I see this chord, it's a beautiful chord to end a song. I talked about it in my last lesson. But you could play, anything you play over that chord in E major is going to sound beautiful. Right? Because it doesn't matter. The harmony is in the chord. So it's almost like you don't have to do anything in the lead because the lead is not playing harmony. Now, I know a lot of guys that watch my channel and a lot of guys in the YouTube community are metal guys. And to me, I love heavy metal. Like, I can tell you albums that I love and bands that I like and don't like. And I don't like a few that a lot of people like. Like, I don't really care for Metallica. I don't think anything of them passed the Ride the Lightning album. And a lot of it has to do with, I don't hear very much harmony, whether it comes from the vocal to the music or in the music itself. Where I find Megadeth does have harmony. And they also have some really interesting solos that Marty Friedman plays in the 90s that I love. But I mean, I love all that, anything with that flat five or the chromatic, all that stuff. But the point is I like music with harmony. Like I love Steely Dan and that. I like harmony. I like the chords to have some type of harmonic structure where I'm hearing some tensions and stuff that's nice. Like stuff like this. This chord is a lot of harmony in this chord, right? We have the E, the major third, and the 5. There's the chord. There's your triad. And we've added this, the major 7, the 9, the 13. Everything but the 11. So it's nice to be able to add that harmony. Now, today I had a student and we were doing all the same work that we're doing here. And one of the things I was discussing with him was major 7 chords. And major 7 chords to me can be seen many ways. You could look at it as the 1 chord to a song. I don't know who that is, Jay. All right, so you could look at this G major 7 as the 1 chord, right, to a song. Well, let's just say we're just going to play G major 7. How would you approach playing the G major 7? Most people will approach it as it's the 1 chord. So you're going to play the G major scale, right? So you might even approach it as playing the G arpeggios, the G major, the A minor, the B minor, the C, the D, the E minor, the F the F half diminished or F diminished. Sorry, F sharp diminished or F sharp half diminished. That's not how I would play it. When I see a chord like this, how I think of the G major 7 is I see it as a B minor with a G in the bass. And so I would play a B minor. I'd play the B minor. Now you might be saying to yourself, yes, Dave, but you may be in the key of G and B minor is in the key of D and has a C sharp. You're damn right it does. However, if you're playing this chord, this note sounds like shit, even though it's in the key that you're playing in. So if you're playing a song and it's going, I would be playing B minor here with a key of D, and here I'd be playing the key of G or E minor, because that's how I think of the chord, and that's the harmony that I want to hear. Hey, Dwight Bailey, that's the harmony that I want to hear in those chords. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm playing... That's how I'm looking at it, and that's how I want to hear it. Now, also, if I'm playing something where somebody's asking me to play a figure, or they're asking me to come up with a, you're playing a song where the song is basically like this. But it's like an R&B vibe or something. Well, here, for this, I'd be playing... I'd be playing B minor to E minor and letting the bass, but the... You know what I mean? So therefore, I'm playing what I want to hear in that chord. You don't need me playing the root. If this chord is playing, you don't need to go, because to me, you're ignoring the harmony that wants to be exaggerated. the song, the sound that wants to be amplified, which is oh. So I'm all over the place with that and playing to each chord. It's how I hear the chord and how I see it and what I want to hear from it. When trying to figure out chords to a song, I'm often can't hear, for example, why a D minor versus a D minor sevenths are night and day, but not the minors for me. Apple Packs, sometimes I'll play, and there are times when I'll play it as a minor seven, even though clearly I don't hear the seven on the record, because in my mind's eye, I think it sounds nicer with the seven. But yeah, you can hear the difference between this and this. Or this and this. It's just a little fuller. And you can hear that seven. The thing I would tell you is if you hear the chord Apple Packs and you're listening to it, play it with the seven, and then so you hear that seven. So if we play D minor, play this. And then go back and listen to the song in the chord and say, do you hear that in the chord? If you don't, then it's not a seven. And if you do, it is. But you'll hear it. And then sometimes, what's tricky is you'll hear another instrument pick up that note. And then you're like, well, the guitar is definitely not playing it. But that piano's playing it. And so sonically, I hear it in the chord. So when I'm teaching a song, if I hear it in another instrument and it's in the whole overall sound of the song, then I'm putting it in there because I'm like, that's how I hear the song and I hear that seven. But yeah. Yeah, well, major sevens, you get that half step, so it's right there with the root. And again, for like a D major seven, right at the same thing. What's a D major seven? To me, it's like an F sharp minor with a D in the bass. So I like to play that over there. And of course, when I just did this, I use the F sharp, which would be the sharp 11 to it, because I don't think the G natural sounds nice against the D major seven. The 11 is just an ugly sound against the major seven chord. So I always play every major seven. To me, I always treat it like it's the 4 chord. It's just, to me, a nicer sound. And it's not that dissonant sound, But yeah, those are definitely things to look out for and what to do when you're playing songs. There's also like different voicings of things is how you play them and why you should know them up the neck. Obviously, if I play an A minor 7 at 11 here, that has a cluster of a sound, right? We have the C, the D, and the E all on top of one another. 3 notes all right next to each other. It's a nice sound. But I could also play that chord here, and it's a wider sound. And knowing the notes on the fingerboard will help you be able to figure out these chords. People call me the chord master, and I'm like, I'm not a chord master. I just know where the notes are, and I know what the chords are. There are guys I see, and they're playing chords. I'm like, man, what the fuck chord is that? That's great. Let me try that. But I mean, I'm listening to popular music, and I can hear the voicings that I like. And if it's a voicing I don't know, I'll figure it out where it is. Well, the Rain song is played in open. It's an open tuning. It's called the G sus4 tuning. So it's D, G, C, G, C, D. I'm in standard tuning right now, so. But yeah, and so that's kind of what the cage system tries to teach you. It's like it's their way of saying, well, if you're playing a C, you know, if you're in the key of C, you could do this, you could play a lead from here. And if you're in D, you can do it here. And if you're in E, you know, it's all this, it's all the same, movable to the same shape, right? But in that method, you're not learning, or you're not really thinking about what the notes are. And for me, I like to know what those notes are. Like, I noticed when I played in many bands over time and worked with many players. And to me, I'm always surprised if I play with somebody and I'm like, ooh, I like that, but add the 9 on top. And they look at me like I have 3 heads. They look at me like, the 9? Yeah, put the fucking 9 on the top. So if somebody has like an E minor 7 chord, and I'm like, oh, that sounds nice, put the 9 on top. I want to hear this. If I want to hear the 9 on top, I would hear this on an A minor. There's the 9 on top, right? What's that love song by The Cure? Whenever right? So, and if I moved it here, you have Liz Reed by Allman Brothers, right? Which is almost like, well, lost never did nothing to the... So, the voicings and knowing what the 9 is something that you should know. You should know, hey, we're in the key of A minor, which is really the key of C. But we're looking at it from the A minor. Play the 9. Well, that would be the B. The 9 is the 2, but we're putting it on the top. And on an A minor 7, the 9 is the 2. We just... It's a nice chord. You could play it. All different ways you could play the same chord to however comfortable you are. And then eventually what happens is you start to figure out, oh, I know that note. So like if I'm playing an E minor, add 9, right? Well, I know that's the F sharp. There's my 9. Some people saying, why would you call it a 2? Well, the 3rd is here. Even though it's a minor 3rd, if it was major, it'd be this. 1, 5, 9, 3, 5, 1. What was that song? Is it a Zappa song? Watermelon Easter Hay, I think. Yeah, exactly, Jay. There you go. But it's in 5/4, right? So it's a 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I forget the exact picking, but it's 4/4 then 5/4. But anyways, I don't know why I went into that, but so yeah. So anyway, so that's where I had a problem with the cage system, is because I feel like it's a quick cheat to do something that you don't have to cheat to do. You know what I mean? If you know, here when you're playing an A, right? We have a 5/1 major 3rd. No matter what, you're playing that D shape. If you're starting on the 3, it's always 5/1 3. So G, F, E, E flat, D. So, yeah, I mean, try not to do the cheat. Try to learn the chords. And and look at music as the 7 notes are in a Scrabble bag. I constantly say this. They're in a Scrabble bag. It doesn't have to be played in a line. You can jump around and play it. If you wanted to play, right, you have 7 notes right there. That's the key of C starting on E minor. You can do whatever the piss you want. You don't have to play. You can play it in any order you want. And all the triads stay the same. You're going to have a major, well, if we looked at the key of C, right, you could have a C major 7, or you could look it all the way up and say a C major 13. If you go all the way up to the F, you're going to have a C major 13 with a sharp 11, right? So there's the difference between a 1 and a 4. The 2 is always going to be a D minor 13. The 2 is always going to be a minor 13, whereas the 6 is going to be a minor 11 with a flat 13. So there's like those little tiny differences you should know. Oh, no, I think you got it right. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Dwight. But see, then when you're working in chords, you'll be able to play around the chords and be able to do all kinds of, that's how, like, so in my own playing, I've come across, I like playing an A major 7 here. Because I know where the notes are, and here I have the 1, the major 7, the major 3, the 5, the 5. But the cool thing about this chord is I can lay my pinky down and have an A major 9. And I like that chord. Right then. So knowing the chords, knowing how to play them is important, There's a lot of interesting stuff, but when you go to figure out songs, once you know where everything is, you can hear it and be like, oh, okay, I can hear what's going on there, and I can figure that out. And so for a lot of the times, if you see my AM station band, people call off songs. Jim and I will sit there and go, do you know it? Yeah, kind of. And if we can pretty much fake it pretty good because we have an understanding of what needs to be heard during the song, Like I think we did on the spot one day because it was, we just were like, oh, there's the intro. Okay, we could figure out everything else, And you get used to hearing the way chords sound. You get used to it. There's so many things over and over again that get played. It's same with the jazz guys. The jazz guys that play 2-5-1, and there's a million guys on YouTube that are teaching how to play like Bill Evans or do the Barry Harris technique. They know that stuff so well because it's everywhere. And that's what they live and breathe. And if you play rock music or you play or you want to get into playing like Steely Dan type stuff, to me, Steely Dan is not jazz. People might say it's jazz, but it's really, to me, not so jazzy. It's pop, and it has a real element of jazz harmony, but it's not jazz, not by any stretch, in my opinion. Some people call it jazz rock. To me, it's pop and it's jazzy. I don't know if I would call it jazz pop. Now, there are some songs that definitely get into jazz. Certainly songs like Maxine on Donald Fagen's The Night Fly, or even just the main groove of Gaucho, which was stolen from, I'm blanking on his name, Long as Loving, whatever the hell the name of that song was. But it's a rip of a jazz song. I wouldn't even call it that jazzy of a jazz song. Or like the beginning of Ricky Don't Lose That Number is really a rip of the beginning of Song for My Father by Horace Silver. What I don't understand about you, Dave, is that you could listen to a song for the first time and you automatically know the chords. How do you know that? Well, because it's like I was saying, I don't think of it as fusion. It's not so much fusion. Fusion to me is a little bit more experimental. I feel Keith Jarrett. Thank you, Brian. Yes, Long as Loving or whatever. New Frontier is my favorite. What is that chord out? Fantastic song. Fantastic. So, Cheech, so many songs have similar progressions, and also when you listen, when you know the keys and you know the structure of songs and you know what chords are meant to do. And this was what I was talking about when a guy commented on the song, and I think it was an All Out of Love song. But anyways, if you're playing this chord, the G11, and it resolves to a C, it's acting as a 5. Now, if I was to reharmonize the song, I could sit and add it like I could play it as a, I could, add all kinds of tensions to it, but it really is just a 5-1. He was saying that it was a 4-1 and that it was an F add 9 over third inversion, which would be a G over F, which nobody would ever call this chord. And saying that has a church like a plagal cadence, which to me, I don't hear it when I hear that. I hear that as a G chord with tensions on it as a 5. And so to argue it, I thought was ridiculous, because if he hears it as a plagal cadence, which I don't, then he could write out that chord that way. I just don't care. Like, why do I care how you hear it? I'm teaching a song how I hear it. I know everyone loves to put their comments on stuff like, this chord here, I would call it. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what you would call it. Like, there's a million ways to call a song. Now, I'd say maybe out of every 150 comments I get like that, one guy's right. And one guy was right. He said, you called it this and it should be called that. And I said, yeah, you know something? You're right. You're right. And there was one also in, and there was another time somebody was right. It was on the song, The Logical Song. I can't remember what I called this chord. But I think now I would call it a B minor 6 over D. I think of it, that's what I would call it. And I didn't call it that. I called it like an E minor 9, an E9 over D. A rootless E9 over D. And looking back on it, which I could see it being played that way because I could see the chords cycle through that. It would be like a 1, 2, 4. But really, it could be a 1, 6, 4. And it probably would have been the better way to say it. So for that guy, if you're watching, which I don't think you are, but you were right about the chord. And he actually wasn't right about what he wanted to call it. I ended up later saying, actually, it's a B minor 6 over D. And we both agreed that would probably be the best name for it. But there's so many ways you can name it. And it really depends on how you see it when you're playing it. And the whole reason I bring this up is because Cheech is asking, how do I know a progression when I hear it for the first time? You just get used to, if you've ever seen the movie Groundhog Day, when Bill Murray says, I don't know that if God's all knowing or he's just lived the same day every day that he knows what's going to happen. You live the same song over every day. And there are times when you get stumped because somebody throws a curveball at you and you're like, what the hell chord is that? And where did that come from? Because it's just something that's so unusual. And, usually it'll take you a second to figure out. And I say a second, I mean a second. But it's still not the same as, for the most part, if we're in the car, Cheech, you and I are driving somewhere and a song comes on and I've never heard the song, I could call off the chords and tell you what they're playing. For me, that happens a lot if I'm driving and I'm like, oh, that was a cool change. And then I go in my head and I'm like, let me hear what that is. In fact, it's happened when I listened to the Chaka Khan song, What You Gonna Do For Me. I could hear that it was a minor 9 to the 511 chord. Did I know what key it was in? No, I actually assumed it was in E minor 9 because or an F sharp minor 9. now that I'm thinking about it, I assumed it was an F sharp minor 9 because the bass is going like that on it. And so listening to it, I'm like, oh, that's an F sharp. Later, when I figured out that it was an F minor, I realized the bass is tuned down a half step because there's no other way he's playing open E flat unless he's tuned down. So he is playing. Stuff like that over, which is just like boom, 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 that type of thing, and you hear that like, which is a what the hell am I playing here? F7. Sorry, C sharp. It's just a sharp 5. But I think they play it. There's another instrument playing that flat 9, so it's like you hear. What you gonna do for me? Well, I try, and if something is unplayable or something I find hard to play, I work on it. It's really, let me tell you, if you want to learn music theory and you want to get really good at music theory, everybody has the motivation to start. It just takes a level of discipline to stick with it. I have relative pitch. It's not perfect pitch. But yeah, so I have relative pitch, but I can also tell, like, if I'm listening to, like I said, in that song, I was like, I thought it was an E minor 9. In fact, when I heard the bass, I was like, oh, I knew the bass was playing an F sharp just because I could hear the, and of course it ended up being in between. It was an F and the bass was tuned down a half step, but I could hear what the bass was playing, which is that 2, that 2 to open 2. Yeah, 9s, 11s, 13s. Well, they're everywhere, But you just get so used to hearing the same type of progression. And then also, it was right after I was going to do What You're Going to Do For Me, the Chaka song, that I heard that Bee Gees song, right? And it's like, run for me, you treat me like a night, and you're but I'm hanging on. Ooh, gorgeous chords. Barry Gibb is fucking amazing. Anyone that says, so tonight I'm having dinner with Jerry, who you guys saw on my my Monday show, Jerry and my buddy Al. And we're talking about the Bee Gees, and Al's like, I like all the old stuff better than the 70s stuff. And I'm like, that's because you're an imbecile. Because that 70s stuff, those songs are gorgeous. Those changes, this to both, Thomas. I can read, and I play by ear, and I can read charts, and I can read Nashville charts. Yeah, I've read. To do sessions, you have to be able to read charts. So I can read charts. I can read Nashville charts. I read music, but I read real slow. But I can read, but I'm terrible. But I can read, but I'm horrible. But I can read. I can get through a song and pretty much get the idea, the gist of the song from reading music. But charts and numbered charts, I can read fairly good. And that's kind of like, if, like I said, if you're reading a chart and you're seeing like it's a G major 7 and you're listening to it and it's got this, and it's a funky thing, you're not going to want to play the full G major 7. You'd want to play something like, that type of thing where you're playing, that would be like a G major 7 to a C major 7 where I'm playing a B minor to an E minor, because that's what you're playing when you're playing to the chord. I'm playing the harmony, the nice stuff. The bass I don't need to be playing that G while the bass is playing the G. He's got it. The bass got it. The keyboard player is probably playing the bass note G as well. It's like we don't all have to be hitting that note. And you see that a lot of times with bands. I'll see bands doing cover stuff, and I'm like, sometimes you walk in and you're like, you can always tell a good cover band versus not a good one when it sounds like you walk in, it's like everyone's on the same frequency, on the same notes. It's like everyone's trying to play the whole song on their instrument. Oh, yeah. Well, Bee Gees are great, and you got like I love the Bee Gees. Great, great stuff. Barry's awesome. I love those chords that he plays. Like what's that one? It's over and done. The and where are you now? Now that I think you, hello, wherever you go. Now cry me a river. Jay, I do a lesson on magic by Olivia Newton-John. Who deleted the message? Jan, why did you delete his message? Come take my hand. You are I've been for you. It says by Jan Esterlis. Which one, Todd? Oh, do my. Which one? Oh yeah, Emily sings that when we play out. We do that when we play live. I love disco. I love all music. I think there's great music in every genre. I even love rap. I think there's some great rap stuff. I love one of my all-time favorite albums of rap is Guru Jazzmatazz. I think that's one of the greatest records. I've never heard of Peter White Salvatore, but I'll check it out. I love How Deep Is Your Love. We do that one when the three of us play. Wait, hold on. Can I fix this? Can I change? Sorry, Jay. I just unhid you. You should be back. Jay, you back? Jay, Jay Santiago, are you back? But yeah, so Jay Santiago, there is a, okay, very good. Jay, there is a lesson on my channel of Olivia Newton-John's Magic, and that's basically how we are your what is it? I love that chord. E minor 7 flat 5. A7 flat 9. Fucking great. Yeah, I brought him back, Johnny. Yeah, it's a fun one. I'll be there. What is that? What key? Wait, I think it's an A, isn't it? I'll be there. Is that the one you're thinking of? I'll be there. The Jacksons. Do I ever play a 12 string? Yeah, I have a 12 string. In the other room, I have the Guild. I've done a bunch of lessons on it. I've done some Supertramp on it. Did I ever do a lesson? Someone tell me if I've ever done a lesson on School. If I've never done School, I got to do it on the 12 string. I got to do a lesson on You're Coming Along. I got to do a lesson on my 12 string for School. But I did a lesson on the 12 string for the church song. I can't remember what the hell the name of the song is. Under the Milky Way. I've done a few 12 string songs. Andy Timmons played on Magic. Really? I think it was a mistake, Johnny. What is it? The Guild Peregrine. I don't know if I do. That guitar, I don't know. I like the old Guild, the Westerly, Rhode Island Guilds. The D35 was nice. The D40 was nice. Yeah, 1980. I have no idea how old Andy Timmons is, but he seemed like he would be a little young to be playing on it, but I don't know how old he is. So I don't know. Yeah. But I have a lot of songs. There's so many. I'm trying to think of what's coming out next. What's next week's? Do I remember what's coming out next week? I don't even think I do. Oh, I do. It was a Gerald de la Rosa asked me to teach a song. I did his request. And what did you guys think? I mean, did any of you guys watch the DL show on Monday night? What did you think of Jerry on this show? Did you guys like Jerry? I'm thinking of bringing him on more often if you guys dug him. Oh, he's awesome, Johnny. I agree. Relax. Take it easy. You see the world through your cynical eyes. You remember? No, I think every other week, Jay. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I thought Jerry was cool. You got it all in the palm of your hands, but With your hands filled with sweat, and you're done, and you're cool. Yeah. So yeah, it was funny. Like, I used to bring I brought a few guitars over there myself and did some work on stuff. I called him up one day. I'm like, hey, I got to do some soldering and I don't have any shit here. He's like, come by. I'm down in the basement. So he's literally a mile up the road from me. But yeah. And everybody, Krellbar was fine. I called Krellbar the next morning after he sobered up. He had a couple of cocktails before the show. So yeah. Anyways, what other questions do you guys have for me? Because I'm digging the Cannon. Oh, Cannon's amazing. Frank Cannon. Hey, Jay Santiago, thank you very much, and thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you, my friend. Very cool. Hey, you know who commented on? Do you guys know who? What the hell's his name? Scanlon. Is it Scanlon? What's that guitar player? He plays like the 8-string guitar. I've seen him before, but I haven't watched in a long time. I can't remember his name. Do you guys know the guy who I'm talking about? What the hell's his name? Seems like a really cool guy. You know what? I watched a video about him years ago when he was doing some charity at like a guitar store. Yes, that's it. Rob Scallon. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he commented on one of my videos. I did a lesson on the song When I Come Home From Work, I Wanna Wrap My Arms Around You. Yes, Billy, yeah. He liked my my Alice Cooper lesson For You and Me. Oh, it's when I come home from work, I wanna wrap my arms around you. I wanna tell you that I love you till the time. I could take you to heaven, that could make my day complete. You and me, no super, which I thought was strange that he would like my video or comment on it, but he did, which is cool. You would hope my channel would be getting out there, but unfortunately, I still can't hit. No, I think I'm at like he was at 2.3 million subs, and I think I am at. Let's see what it say. It says 17.9. Oh, my phone's in the other room, Todd. I can hear all kinds of noise going on in the other room. Yeah, my phone's on the charger. It's called You and Me by Alice Cooper, Jan. I could take you to heaven. It's you and me ain't no superstar. What we are is what we are. For TV. That's enough for the working man. What I am is what I am. I don't remember. Excellent. That's cool. Yeah, that's what I would do, Salvatore. Like I said, when you're looking at music, like if you looked at a piano, you got all the white notes. There's 7 notes. If you just look at that one octave, you can play them in order if you want to sound like a simpleton, or you can try to make melodies using the 7 notes. And that's really what you should be doing on the guitar as well, is trying to be musical and using your ear more. One thing that when I was teaching today was I said to him, I don't want you to think anymore in minors. We're going to play songs in minor keys, and we're going to look at it only from the major scale. So we looked at a song that was in D minor, and we played F major. And I made him look at it and think of it in F major and not approach it and avoid the D minor pentatonic. So that was the taboo. And what happens is when you do that and you force yourself to do it, is you force yourself to listen more, because as players, we're all guilty of, if someone's playing, we're going to go, right? Because we could phone that in. We don't even have to think. It's like, right? We could just sit there and noodle about. But you can do that, but that you shouldn't live on that. And so like we were like, and doing all kinds of stuff like playing around in F major and thinking about F major, because it forces you then to listen and play and be more and bring more harmony to the song and be more musical. When you hear a lot of times, you'll hear like guitar players say, oh, when I write, I like to write on the piano. Why do you think they like to write on the piano? Because everything's there? No, they like to write on the piano because they're not great piano players. They don't have that built-in muscle memory that they have on the guitar. So what they do is they sit there and they're forced to listen, and they're forced to listen to what their brain wants to hear. And when you do that, you are way more musical than you are if you were to play cliche shit. And in proving this point with him, I played him the final cut by Pink Floyd, where Gilmour plays that solo. And even though the solo is in F, it starts on the A minor, it really is beautiful and melodic and doesn't really follow what you would imagine to be the cliche licks. And from the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, where Clapton was the guitar player. And as much as I like Eric Clapton as an artist, I'm not a huge fan of his playing. And I just thought it was like just nonstop pissing all over the song with blues licks. And I was like, you see, this to me is a turnoff. It stinks, because it's saying way more than Gilmour said, but not saying anything at all. Gilmour says very little, but what he says tears your heart out. That's what you want. And then I played him some of the stuff from Amused to Death, and Jeff Beck falls somewhere in the middle. There's some real beautiful, expressive vibrato stuff that he does, the typical Jeff Beck stuff that everybody loves, like on Angel's Footprints. Just gorgeous playing. And then there's a couple of licks in there where you're like, and there it is. And that's how you know he's Jeff Beck. It became like a bunch of like a few cliches, but amongst a beautiful presentation. Hey, John Watson, welcome. So when you're listening to those three, it lets you really appreciate David Gilmour, who I really like, just because I feel like he's not really playing to the scale as much as he's hearing the note, and he's very careful about his notes. The final cut is a solo. I mean, I should probably teach it on my channel if you guys want to learn the song. I've done the solo before, just playing along to it, but it's a nice one to teach. It's got a really interesting harmony. We also did a little bit of Dogs today, the harmony in Dogs. It was really cool, actually, because I always thought he bent it to the F and the D and then hits the F. He actually hits the D and then the E, and it's really interesting. But anyways, my point being is you want to say the least amount and say the most. And in that doesn't mean you can't still fly up the neck when you need to. It's a tool, So if you're playing here, you can move and then end up here if you need to play something quick. But you play something quick, most of the time it doesn't even matter what notes you're playing. You can play, it just doesn't matter. As long as you land where you need to land, you don't have to worry about it so much. Now, some guys are like, like a lot of the metal guys, oh, no, you got to play the Aeolian scale with the harmonic minor. Okay, that's what you want to do. You can do it. Not everyone has to. And you listen to fucking Alan Holdsworth when he flies up the neck, and it's all over the fucking place. He's hitting more blue notes than Alfred Lyon. Was that the guy's name who started Blue Note? I have no idea. I think it was. Was it Alfred Lyon? Hey, look that up, will you? Alfred Lyon? Anyways, the point is to connect your brain to your hand. Don't let the hand control. And I think Jan Esterlis had brought this up about before, about muscle memory. You want to somehow take the muscle memory out. You're going to use it regardless. There's nothing I can tell you that's going to stop, because I'm not going to stop using it either. We all use muscle memory. In fact, Holdsworth used to talk about playing 4 notes of string so it gets away your muscle memory, but he always played 3 notes of string and very rarely played 4 notes. But yeah, Alfred Lyon, okay. Yeah, but you're not going to get rid of that muscle memory. It's something you're going to use, but it's nice to get your brain in there to slow everything down. And when you listen to Gilmour, like when you hear him play, I'm not going to plug it in. I was plugged in all day earlier today, but like in the final cut when he's like, it's just beautiful. It's really nice. It's playing to the chords, and who said he was singing? Cheech. His guitar sings. He's singing because that's what he wants to hear in his head. That's what he's like listening for and playing. And he's connecting his head to his hands. He's not just playing your Clapton style stuff, or it's really carefully singing a melody that he wants to sing. And I've challenged people before, and I've said to them, if you're listening to backing tracks, so back when everyone was doing backing tracks on their channels and they were making challenges for people, the thing is, sing the solo you're going to play. Sing it. Then, because you want to sing it like, what do you want to hear as a solo? Sing it. Then go back, listen to what you're singing, and figure out how to play it on the guitar. Because then you're forced to listen and use your head and listen. And what you're singing, you're not using muscle memory. You're not playing cliche licks that you've used 1,000 times, that Clapton's used and everyone's copied from back in the day. You don't have that in your brain, because in your brain, you're just hearing music. And that's how you should try to connect your brain to your hands, is the first way to do it. And I'll tell you right now, if you're a 38 Special fan, Jeff Carlisi used to do this. Jeff Carlisi would take the session of the 38 Special song that he had to play the solo on. He would take it home and he would sing the solo over and over, how he would want it to go. And then he would learn what he sang. And that's why those solos always are so musical. Carlisi was great with that. It's a great technique to do, because it forces you to get your hands and your muscle memory out of the game and have your brain start to slowly take over. And eventually you'll be like, oh, this was that, this is that. And it's that same thing about, is God really all that knowing, or is he living the same day over and over again? Once you play over and over and you put a certain amount of hours in, well, then you're going to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can see right now it says my internet is unstable, but it'll fix itself in a second. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to mute my mic for 1 sec. All right. Still not good. Let me close this. Boom. Connection is unstable. I don't know why. Right. Han Solo, hey Dave, awesome stuff, dude. You're killing it tonight. Kind of brilliant. Honestly, good work listening to while I work. Hey Han Solo, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Well, like I said, whatever it takes, it's about discipline and disciplining yourself to sit down and do it, even on days you don't want to do it. Right? I mean, when I started trying to lose weight, my whole thing was, you get motivated. And you're motivated to do something. And once you're motivated to do something, you take the first step. Well, that's the easy part. The hard part is then sticking with it when your days you don't want to do it. And I was doing double cardio on days when I wasn't on any thyroid medicine, and my thyroid was all messed up, and I was from December 6th to April 6th, I weighed the same weight, even though I'm doing double cardio and dieting my ass off. So you just stick with it. It's a discipline. Then they finally figured out that my thyroid was messed up and put me on on the better stuff. But yeah, it's a discipline. Anyone can start. It's easy to be motivated. Anyone can be motivated for 5 minutes, but once you commit, you want to it takes discipline, and the discipline, thanks. The discipline that it takes is, you just do it, and that's not just, I'm not talking about working out. I'm talking about doing, whether it's music or whether anything you want to do in your life. You got to put some discipline to it, because without discipline, for me, I was 53 years old last summer, walked up the stairs and was like not breathing good, was tired. I was like, this sucks. I used to be in great shape. What the hell happened? I know my dad passed, and I just let myself, wasn't in a good way, and decided I needed to change it and make some changes in my life. And so, I got off every medicine that they had me on, which was like, I wasn't really taking the statin. I refused to take the statin, but I was taking metropolol. I was taking levothyroxine, which was terrible, putting weight on me. And got off all of it, started dieting, started hitting the gym. And yeah. So and I'm just talking in that respect. But also, when I first started getting involved in music when I was a kid, I wanted to learn music theory. And I was like, I wasn't satisfied learning theory. I wasn't satisfied with the way certain books were teaching about music theory. I was like, well, this doesn't really make sense to me. And I actually got into an argument with a music teacher in high school, because I thought what he was teaching was trying to make it more difficult for the class. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why would we be talking like it? Just didn't make any sense. And so I came up with a whole system and a whole numbering system. And like I said, I remember when I was in LA, somebody showed me a Nashville number chart. I'm like, what the hell's this? I thought I made this up. Very similar to how the Nashville chart is done. And, I basically figured it out on my own. And I think there's a lot of good players that do it that way. I know Alan Holdsworth, has his own method. His is probably a less schooled approach, where mine, I took a little bit more from general music theory. But Alan has like the DX chord, which is his Dorian. But I do agree with Alan. If you look at the Dorian mode, or you look at the 2 minor of a scale, I would think of that as a natural 6. And most people are like, oh, it has a raised 6. I look at it as a minor third and a natural 6 with a flat 7. And so it works for me, and it works. And the main thing about music is you want to be able to communicate to other people. You want to communicate. And that's where, when I was talking about what the 5 chord means, is you have to understand that if you're talking to, like, if you got Larry Carlton coming in playing on a session, and your chord progression is this to this. Over this chord, it's a 5 chord. He might be he could play anything. It's his choice. It's a 5. He could play altered over it. He could play double diminished, or he could play melodically in the key. It's his choice. That's who the player is. That's why you get the player, but he has to know that's the 5. So you would never write this out in that progression as an F add 9 over third inversion or over G. It just seems silly. And I wouldn't write it as an F over G, because an F over G tells me it's the 4 chord. And the 4 chord, you're not going to play tensions, because the 4 chord doesn't necessarily tell you that it's going to resolve. If you write it as G11, instantly you know that's a 5 chord. That wants to resolve. I'm going to apply tension to it. That's why I do it. It's all about communication. It's not about me trying to name things the way I like to name them. It's actually to give you insight into the progression of what's coming next. Anyways. That's all really I have to say for tonight. I don't really have much else to talk about. If anyone has any other questions, I'll answer questions, and then we can end this shindig. Cheech, are you on my Instagram? Do you guys follow my Instagram? Oh, nice, Todd. Yeah, I have I play 3 sets every weekend, but I have a gig in July up in New Hampshire that's an all-day thing on the lake. I'll probably film it like I did last year. Thanks, Jan. Appreciate you, man. I'll have to smoke a cigar soon. All right. Well, I just figured, because I don't know what you said. You mentioned my arms. I was like, usually on Instagram I'll post pictures from the gym, but I haven't here. But yeah. For those that want to follow, I think let me just see what my Instagram is. I think it's at Dave_Levine. You would imagine that I would know this, but I don't. Oh, hold on. Who's this? Is this Todd? Oh, yeah, it is Todd. Let me see what you sent me. Oh, that looks like almost like the multi-act, doesn't it, Todd? Cop. All right. All right, there's my Instagram if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram. Hey, thank you, Salvatore. Appreciate it. Let me see here. Too many crazy platforms nowadays. All righty. Yeah, the T5. Yeah, exactly. What did I say? The multi-act? Yeah, the multi-act, the T5, kind of in that same vein of both those. Yeah. I always hated the T5. Taylor really I remember when they brought him, and me and Bingham were like, yeah, no. And then they made the solid bodies after that. And the backstory. Bob Taylor didn't want to build an electric guitar, but he made these pickups and was like, oh, he's got to build a guitar now for it. Yeah, they're not that good at pickups. Relax. Yeah, I'll do it until I run out of stuff to talk about. Cheech, it's every other week because what happens is sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what to talk about. And then I'll hear something and I'm like, oh, I really should discuss this because I haven't discussed it. There's just only so many things I can talk about on here. And we'll just see as the weather gets better if I feel like hanging out on Wednesday nights. It's really much more just socially. If there's other things I could be doing, I'd rather be doing it. You know, or I could do this maybe outside smoking a cigar and talking music. I don't know about in this stuffy red room with all these amplifiers, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So listen, everybody, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you all. Lesson coming out next Monday. The Monday after that, that's already done. And Monday after that, that's already done. What else? Live Saturday. I'll be live Saturday night. Thursday night is tomorrow. I haven't decided if I was going to go down to the Ash or not tomorrow. I might. If I do, I might go live. It just depends. I had a great cigar the other night called My Father's La Gran Oferta. That was a good cigar. I really enjoyed it. What did I have last night? La Libertad from Villiger Cigars. That was good. I can't say I loved it, but I didn't not like it. I liked it a lot. I like it a lot. All right, everybody, have a great night. And again, thanks so much for hanging out with me. And I'll see you on the Flism Flasm. Very good.